Hey everyone, my name is Dillon Gonzalez. I'm the editorial director of GeekVibesNation.com and also a co-host of the Home Dance Film Festival podcast. And welcome to a brand new episode of No Streaming Required, your weekly deep dive into all the latest and greatest in the world of physical media. Welcome back. We have another jam-packed episode for you this week. It is one of my favorite episodes of the month. It is once again time to explore the Warner Archive. This is whenever we dig into one of my absolute favorite labels, the best in the game, there's so many really good releases, including new stuff from Hanna-Barbera that I'm really excited to talk about. But not only are we going to spotlight them, we're going to explore the Vinegar Syndrome partner labels. A lot of really good stuff going on over at Vinegar Syndrome this month that I'm really excited to spotlight. But first, there are some other titles that I would be remiss if I made you wait any longer to hear about them, because there's a lot of really cool things coming out and they should be on your radar. Especially my first couple are going to be really appropriate for seasonally for anyone who's really starting to ramp up spooky season. You're going to want to pay attention to these first releases, the first of which is from Lionsgate Limited. It is the 4K Ultra HD release of It Follows. This is celebrating its 10th anniversary. Somehow I had not seen this yet, so I was really excited to have my first viewing be the 4K release, and I really like this nice clear slip cover. You can kind of see the shadows of the hands a little bit here that are over our protagonist. But I've been really excited to check this one out ever since it first released. But it just had kind of slipped by my radar, and it's a really interesting movie. It didn't let me down, but it was a little bit different than I anticipated. What I knew about this and what is true is that there is kind of an entity that is being passed around that's basically cursing people to death through anyone, like they are passing this through sexual intercourse. So that's basically the bare bones of what I knew about this. And I knew it starred Michael Monroe, who's really become a really prominent fixture in the horror genre in the last decade or so, when she really made a big splash in this movie. I really love her. And this concept of how this is kind of like a curse that is spread around, and if you let this entity get you, you will die. What is basically happening, and what kind of surprised me, is once someone kind of is cursed with this, the entity is a very meandering, slow-moving figure that is constantly coming towards you. You can outrun it for a long time, but no matter where you are, it will just keep on slowly walking towards you. And you can feel a little bit of peace of mind for a little bit if you drive far enough. But eventually, you will see a figure walking slowly near you, and if you let it get to you, you will die. And this figure can take a lot of different shapes and everything, and like different people, like different forms and stuff. I was really taken by that, because I think the lingering dread is sometimes a lot more exciting than just like the jump scares and stuff, which there are a couple of jump scares in here, but it is that dread of not being able to outrun something no matter how hard you try, and how you are trying to get rid of this curse that I find really effective. So this was much more kind of a slow burn than I expected, but once people are fearing for their lives, it does really take hold, and I think it's a really interesting movie. And it really shows you how far, like how little regard it's like some people like have for their own safety in order to have sex. They're just like, well, if I could die if I have sex, but I would be having sex, so maybe it is worth the danger. That kind of thing I find very darkly amusing. But this movie is really good, and I'm glad to have watched it on 4K. There is only a 4K disc in this release. And this seems to be from it's said to be from a 4K master that has been prepared by Second Sight overseas. This is a case that has happened with a lot of Lionsgate Limited releases, or a good number of them. One of which, Your Next, was a really big success as well. So Second Sight, it's an amazing label overseas. But for those who don't import, or just want to have a domestic release, Lionsgate Limited is bringing that master over, and a lot of the special features on that release, and including some archival features from the original Lionsgate release of this. So you have this film in 4K in Dolby Vision, in a master that's been approved by the director, and it looks really great. There's a lot of dark and shadowy moments in this movie, and those hold together really well with deep black levels. You don't get any artifacting, you don't get a lot of compression artifacts. Everything looks really nice and crisp and authentic to how it is supposed to look. Audio wise, the main track is the Dolby Atmos audio track, which isn't like incredible. It's not like the most immersive thing, but it sounds really solid for what it's supposed to be doing. And overall, I do like the soundscape of this one. And the Atmos track, it does a really nice job of that. It's just not like the most immersive Atmos track I've ever heard. But it's still very good. And it also has a lossy Dolby Digital 5.1 track. And this is where my knowledge comes up a little bit short, I'll be honest. I know that a lot of people prefer the original DTS 5.1 track from the original Blu-ray, from what I've heard. But the lossy track is no slouch, but it is lossy, and that's unfortunate. The one thing I don't know, and I know it's been a lot of questions I've seen around on the internet, is if this could possibly be the original audio track, which I don't believe has been released on physical media previously, which I've heard people say is on Netflix, or was on Netflix at one point, that had different kind of like some sound effects and different little changes here and there that hasn't been heard of since the original theatrical release. Having no access to Netflix or anything like that, this is the only track that I have. I cannot tell if the lossy 5.1 track is the original track that people claim to know very well and want to hear once again, or if this just is the DTS 5.1 soundtrack from the previous Blu-ray in a lossy format. That's what I don't know, but there are two audio tracks, the Atmos track and the 5.1 track. I wish they could have just made the 5.1 track lossless. But there are options, even if maybe they're not the most ideal. Overall, you will have a good sounding experience with this if you do watch it. There's just some confusion regarding some of the audio options. But video-wise, rock solid. Audio-wise, very good as well. You do get 3 commentary tracks on this one. Plenty of interviews. You get some visual essays. Really nice number of ported over special features, new special features, and archival special features. So especially if you don't have the Second Sight release and you do want this on 4K, this Lionsgate Limited release, which is available exclusively at the Lionsgate Limited website, is a really good option for US buyers. And they have some other really great releases as well. I've talked about many of them, so if you can bundle a bunch of them together and hit the free shipping threshold, that will be even more beneficial to you. But as it is, it follows on the Lionsgate Limited line. It's a good release from Lionsgate, and I recommend it. My next release is one of the biggest releases I'm talking about this week, and it also might be the most frustrating to hear about if you don't own it, because it is getting a little bit scarce at the moment. So if you're really wanting to buy it, you might have a hard time doing so. But I am here to say that Night of the Living Dead, the 1990 Tom Savini remake on 4K, is excellent. It is my first time watching this version of Night of the Living Dead, and I think it does a really nice job of updating the material in very interesting ways. I like in some of the material that Savini has on this disc. He talks about the influence on him of watching Alien and wanting to kind of do a different thing with the character of Barbara, and kind of updating some of the thematic resonance that was present in the original Night of the Living Dead, the Romero version, and giving this one a new reason to justify its existence. And I really like a lot of those elements. So this release, or this movie itself, the movie itself is really good. I don't think it can surpass the original Romero version, but it has a lot of qualities that I think are really great, and it's a very entertaining watch in its own right. And if you kind of if you're open to a different version, Savini did a nice job with this one. In this release, fans have been waiting on for a long time. This has both the original theatrical version and the uncensored version. And while people may be disappointed that it's only 12 seconds longer, any amount of extra gore and everything, I think, is a win for anyone who's like a gore hound. But there's also the opening is in the original black and white as it was intended by Savini whenever he had the concept for this movie, to kind of as an homage to the original black and white Romero version that kind of jumps into color a little bit into the movie. So that's another way both versions are in 4K, so you can choose which one to watch. But if you want a slightly gorier and aesthetically stylized version, you have that uncensored version, which has kind of been kind of mythical up until this point. So both of these versions have been restored in 4K from the original elements. They are presented in Dolby Vision via seamless branching. This film looks terrific. And the Blu-ray, I will say, has both versions as well, the unrated or uncensored and the theatrical version as well from the new masters. So even if you're not 4K capable, if you want to have both of these versions and a ton of special features, which I'll get into, you can buy this and get the new Blu-ray version of this as well. But the 4K in Dolby Vision looks amazing. It has a Sony restoration, and they typically do A+ work. All the natural film grain is intact and resolved well. No compression artifacts, no banding, no crushed black levels, no blown highlights. Everything's dialed in to its most ideal form. Everything looks really great, and lots of detail, all the grisly, bloody moments that pop up. It is very tactile and very in your face. Everything looks great. It sounds great. There are a new Dolby Atmos track available on both cuts. There is a 5.1 track available on both cuts, and then the theatrical cut has the original 2.0 audio as well. So plenty of audio options for each version, and tons of subtitle options as well for those who care. You do get 2 commentary tracks. One is the archival track that Savini created for the theatrical cut, and then on the new uncensored version, he comes back, and this has been recently recorded with Michael Felsher from Red Shirt Pictures, and he kind of gives us some insights into the new uncensored version. So 2 commentary tracks from Savini at different points in his lifetime, full of amazing anecdotes. And while Sony usually does a really good job with their special features in terms of like digging up older special features and deleted scenes and all that kind of stuff, this is really an effort that I think if you have the original Fright Night 4K that Sony released like 4 or 5 years ago, you know how good that they can do with getting a special features package together when it's a title, especially a genre title that they feel warrants it. And this is what happened here. There are tons of special features as if you were getting something from like Arrow Video or something. You have, in addition to the commentary tracks, you have multiple interviews with Savini, with Bill Moseley, with some of the craftspeople and that lead actress. You got featurettes and all kinds of stuff, like new and archival material that Sony took the time to create, and I have to applaud them for that. So really, this is a dream release for horror fans that have been wanting Night of the Living Dead 1990 to be treated with respect. It's an amazing release. Like I said, it's getting a little scarce online right now. So best of luck to you if you want it. Check around to all the usual boutique labels like Diabolic, Atomic, Grindhouse video, anything like that. Wishing you the best of luck. There's also, I believe it's Please Rewind, which is Sony's eBay store. Make sure to look on there. But if you can find it, Night of the Living Dead is very much worth owning. And I think horror fans will be very pleased by this one. Another one for the season, for the horror season, is from Blue Underground in their 4K release of Raw Meat, aka Deathline. And I first have to just say, I love this cover art. It's slightly, I'm not sure if you can see it, it's like embossed here. And on this, there's kind of debossed and embossed here. This is just a really nice kind of textured slip cover that I love a lot. And just like, there are so many things kind of like lightly embossed here that that don't need to be, but just kind of like they made just a really nice slip cover for this one. Underneath you have just another version of the cover art here, and there is a third version of the cover art which I'll flip around for you as well. And I had never seen this movie before, and I found it pretty entertaining. It's kind of a slow burn, but it's a simple story about some mutant people who have been kind of trapped underground in a subway system for decades. They've kind of been evolving, and one of the survivors finally gets out and starts attacking people, and there are people are trying to figure out how to stop this. And one of those people is Donald Pleasance from the original Halloween movies. You also have a very brief appearance from Christopher Lee, and then also just a ton of other kind of like British actors from the time who may not be like household names, but you'll recognize them if you see them. But some really nice practical effects, really gnarly, gross gore going on. Really nice, like I said, special effects. The performances are fine. Like I said, the pacing's pretty slow, but it keeps your attention enough at just like under an hour and a half, I believe. And overall, yeah, just if you're a fan of either of those horror icons that I mentioned, Donald Pleasance or Christopher Lee, it is worth checking out. Pleasance is in the movie quite a bit, and he's suitably kind of cuckoo in a good way. I liked discovering this one from Blue Underground, and they have done a really nice job with this 4K restoration. It's been given a 16-bit 4K restoration from the original camera negative, presented in Dolby Vision. Looks terrific, appropriately gritty, film stock, and everything looks nice and cleaned up, but authentic to the time period. You do get a new Atmos track. You get a 5.1 track and the original 1.0 track. So you have audio options for this one as well. 2 commentary track, plenty of interviews. Overall, Blue Underground, once again, they don't release stuff every month. They have kind of a slower rollout, but whenever they do release something, it's usually of top quality. And Raw Meat, aka Deathline here, it's a really nice 4K release from them. Going to our friends at MVD Entertainment and switching up holidays, we have the Blu-ray release of Best Christmas Movies Ever. Yes, watching a Christmas documentary during the Halloween season does hurt my soul slightly, but this is one that I will be willing to watch again around Christmas time for sure. This is the reversible cover art here that I've already reversed. Otherwise, it will look like this underneath. And you do get a poster in here where you can get that front cover art as well if you feel the urge to have that hanging around your house at all. So you get a little cover because this is from the Rewind collection, even though it is a newer title compared to a lot of the movies in this collection. But it is kind of a throwback, like looking at a lot of older movies, so I understand why it's here. They also had a documentary similarly in this collection. I think it was 1982 was the year that I've talked about on this this video series. So it's a very simple premise. It's a documentary. You got a bunch of talking heads filled with film historians and notable names, like Mick Foley, Chris Parnell, and Gary Anthony Williams. You have a lot of people on here. Patrick Warburton, who I recently talked about in a cinematograph movie a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to be talking about cinematograph here in just a second. So lots of notable names just getting together to discuss Christmas movies and like the ones they love, the ones they hate, and weaving in a little bit of the history of like Christmas on screen, history of Santa Claus, all kinds of stuff. Who's played Santa Claus the best? All those kinds of kind of detours are taken in this movie. I was here for it at all points because I love documentaries. I love like a good kind of clip driven documentary. If I like the subject, I'm in for it. And has a lot of good clips from stuff like It's a Wonderful Life, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, A Christmas Story, Elf, The Santa Claus, The Holiday, Die Hard, Love Actually, tons of Christmas movies from way back in the day to some more newer ones like Klaus and that was like 2018 or so. Lots of really good representation across the board for this documentary. And it really just, while I'm still firmly in spooky Halloween season, it did get my heart ready for Christmas here in a couple of months. And I maybe have added a few to my watch list from watching this. So that's always a good feeling. This is a nice new documentary. It originally aired on the CW, I believe, a year or two ago. I never saw it at that point because I've cut cable. But I was glad to have this uninterrupted on Blu-ray, the full version of the movie. It's like an hour and 40 something minutes long, I believe. Because on one of the special features, they talk about how it originally would air on CW in its full form, and then like it was going to rerun in a truncated like hour long form. But it's the full version here. And you even get, in addition to the movie itself, you get some nice special features. But the movie, it looks great. All the clips are in the best quality possible. All the new footage, the talking head footage, everything looks crisp and clear and everything, and looks good. And no qualms with the sound either. You do get some new special features to make this even a greater proposition, because you get 29 minutes of deleted material that didn't make the movie, which is great. You get about a 42-minute panel from GalaxyCon where they were talking about this movie. And then you get a commentary track as well from the filmmakers. So really nice effort to add some stuff to make this a reason to pick up the Blu-ray if you weren't already convinced. But I think the documentary itself is good enough to have in your collection. I'm glad to have it in my collection. So best Christmas movies ever on Blu-ray, very much worth picking up if you're a fan of the holiday season and holiday movies. Next up from Cult Epics, we have Nobuhiko Obayashi's School in the Crosshairs. And this is a very busy cover, but I like it quite a bit. So Cult Epics has released this movie that when watching it, I felt that it very much felt like a live action anime. And I did learn that this was based on a manga, and while it does kind of have some dated special effects, I think it's very cool how this kind of like translates kind of the feeling of watching kind of like I said, like an anime come to life with all kind of like the exaggerated characters and just some of the intonations. It does a really nice job of bringing this to life. Here's a booklet here that I'll show off. And it has a very fantastical look or story where you have a young girl who learns that she's kind of has some powers and has like telekinetic powers that connect to some beings that are trying to kind of come to Earth, and she uses her powers to try to fight some like fascist uprisings that are happening at her school. As with most kind of like anime manga stories, the plot can be very convoluted and outrageous, but it is taken very appropriately seriously in this movie, and it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of blue screen going on here that makes the visuals sometimes look a little dated or a little craggy, but I think that's kind of a nice kind of touch of like nostalgia for like kind of like this dated quality that they were trying things, and I'm sure it looked really good for the time. Maybe doesn't hold up to our standards, but overall I think it's very charming. It's been restored as well as possible here. It's been given a 2K scan or 2K restoration, and it looks quite good. Like I said, the special effects and the blue screen and everything holds this one back a little bit, but overall I was quite pleased with how the transfer looked. There's no major damage lingering or anything like that. Everything's been cleaned up to make this look probably as good as it could possibly look. You do get special features, including a commentary track and visual essay. Overall, Cult Epics has treated this one very well. It's very kind of like out of this world fun, but if you like kind of like a heightened aesthetic, School in the Crosshairs, I think is worth checking out if you just like kind of like a supernatural tale. Another one from MVD Entertainment here, and one I probably want to like just delve into too much. It is Tenacious D, the Complete Masterworks Volume 3. This is another installment of their Masterworks series. I have the second one. I never got the first one, unfortunately. But this new third one, it has the performance from the O2 Arena in London. This is both the Blu-ray and DVD version is in this. So Blu-ray and DVD, and so you get like the performance at the O2 Arena, which runs about an hour and 9 minutes long. You also get the animated film Post-Apocalypto in here as well. It runs about an hour and 8 minutes in multiple chapters. And then in addition to that, you have about 7 music videos, I think. There are several covers in there, including Baby One More Time from the Kung Fu Panda movie, and you have Wicked Game and some other music videos as well to kind of round this out. So over about 2.5+ hours of entertainment on here. And just seeing a live version of their concert, this was from 2023 when it was filmed, I believe, is really cool. I've seen Tenacious D once in concert about 12-ish years ago. I actually saw it the same day my mother got married, right after she left to go on her honeymoon. My wife and we went to see Tenacious D at the Ryman Auditorium, and it was a blast. So I have fond memories of seeing them live and seeing a version of their performance on Blu-ray. It really resonated with me, and I'm really glad to have this. I'm a big fan of Tenacious D, and this was a lot of fun. Video-wise, looks really nice. No complaints with any of it. The animation is very rough quality, like style-wise, but everything looks good and vibrant and everything. Audio-wise, I was a little surprised that everything is LPCM 2.0, which isn't a bad thing. I just expected maybe a 5.1 track for the concert at least. But the 2.0 track, it's appropriately powerful and everything comes through well. So this was a lot of fun, spending time with Tenacious D, and I was really glad to get into it. And since that was such a comedic time, I thought that would transition nicely into my Warner Archive section of the show with a nice comedic release from Hanna-Barbera. It is the complete series of Touche, Turtle, and Dum Dum. Now, this one is pretty interesting in how this has never been like a traditional show, like some things. Like I just talked about Huckleberry Hound a few weeks ago whenever they released that, and very impressive complete series set. There was a lot of efforts to go through and restore that one with all the original commercials and bumpers and all kinds of stuff. There wasn't really an option to do that with this because it was never part of a show necessarily, like a 30-minute show or anything. What we have here is we do have all the episodes. There are 52 episodes here of Touche, Turtle, and Dum Dum. But these episodes are round about 5 minutes long. So while 52 may sound like a lot, there are 5-minute chunks. So it's neatly split up over 2 discs, which I showed off. And it's a lot of fun. It's not maybe something I would recommend binging all 52 like in a sitting or anything, because they might start to get a little bit repetitive, but they're definitely good to like dig into like 5 or 6 at a time and then come back a day or two later and get some more in, because these are really fun characters. Touche Turtle, he's kind of these are admittedly more minor Hanna-Barbera characters, but they're well worth exploring if you've never seen them before, because Touche Turtle, he is always getting into kind of adventures and fighting for people who need his help. But he can be a little kind of overconfident at times. But you kind of like his drive to save the day, and there's a lot of gags, including him like answering a telephone in his shell at inopportune times and everything. And then he's got his kind of dim-witted sheepdog friend, Dum Dum, who's a lot of fun as well. So they are a nice kind of balancing pair, always getting into minor adventures, all wrapped up within 5 or 6 minutes. But it works very well, and they are not characters that I've known for very long, but as a lover of all things Hanna-Barbera, I'm glad we have someone like the Warner Archive who care enough to make sure these have been restored and put out to fans, even if they're not as iconic as maybe like a Flintstones or Scooby-Doo or even Yogi Bear. They know that people want kind of these kind of oddball characters, because there is a possibility for them to become new favorites for people, which they definitely are hit in my house as well. So this release, a lot of fun content-wise and handled very well on the technical side, because you have been given a 4K scan of the negative elements for these. Now, admittedly, given the condition and how these were made kind of more on the cheap for like the early Hanna-Barbera stuff, these aren't going to look as good as some of the other like Hanna-Barbera releases we've gotten, like Huckleberry Hound or Top Cat. But given the limitations of how these were originally created, I believe, I could be mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, I think these might have been a 16 millimeter or original elements. They're just not going to look as crisp and clear, but they do look very, very nice. The colors are appropriately vibrant. It has a little bit of a softer image compared to certain Hanna-Barbera titles, but these are as good as possible for this show. So Warner Archive, they're not slipping on this. They've done everything they could to make this look as great as possible, and it's kind of a minor miracle that we have these on Blu-ray, just given the fact that these have been so scarce anywhere in the past. The fact that we have this on Blu-ray, we thank Warner Archive for all their efforts, and I know I've heard rumblings that they have some really cool other Hanna-Barbera oddities in the near future that I think we are living in a really prime time for animation fans, and I will get all of it and be happy to devour it all, just like Touche, Turtle, and Dum Dum. So as I mentioned, you get all 52 episodes, no supplemental features. For a show this obscure, I don't think there's a lot of archival material to provide, but the shorts themselves, they're great. And a really cool thing that Warner Archive did, this is a 2-disc release, but they priced it like a 1-disc release, so they're not trying to price gouge you or anything. It's very reasonably priced. So if you're wanting to take a chance on this, it's not going to break the bank, and it's a really good bang for your buck. So Warner Archives release of Touche, Turtle, and Dum Dum, definitely worth checking out for animation fans. I think you will discover something that you like quite a bit. Continuing over at Warner Archive, we have the musical The Beggar's Opera with Laurence Olivier. This was a pretty solid musical. This is about it's kind of set in the, I believe, the 1700s. Yeah, 1741 London. And it begins in like a kind of prison dungeon situation where you have a beggar who is like kind of written this opera kind of hyping up this dude who's kind of notoriously kind of like a rapscallion. He's kind of always like stealing things and getting in this, he's kind of like a folk hero. What he does not know is he is in the same prison like as this guy who's kind of like found himself caught amongst these other prisoners. But this does lead to kind of him kind of regaling people with his actions and like recounting how he got there and all kinds of his exploits in musical form. So you get a lot of just kind of him like stealing priceless things, like romancing women, getting into really interesting situations, and all with a catchy tune in tow. So if that sounds like fun, if you want to see Laurence Olivier kind of being a little scamp and getting into situations and like singing really catchy songs, The Beggar's Opera, which is based on a famous operetta from way like centuries back, I think you will enjoy this adaptation of this. Things did have to be kind of finessed and changed for a feature adaptation of this, but not being as familiar with the original source material, I was perfectly pleased with this. And it's been restored very well from the Warner Archive. You do get a 4K scan of the original Technicolor negatives. Whenever Warner Archive is dealing with Technicolor, you can usually know you're in good hands because they make sure all of the Technicolor strips are perfectly aligned. Everything is pinpoint accurate. There's no damage. They treat the Technicolor and all their releases so well. And everything looks really, really nice and vibrant. No damage. Natural film grain remains intact. Everything looks really good and sounds great. It's a musical. You want to sound great, and you are in luck there. It sounds really good. You do get some special features on this one, including some cartoons. So even whenever you're not buying like a Hanna-Barbera thing for the cartoons themselves, you'll usually get some cartoons as supplemental features if it's appropriate for the release. So that's pretty cool as well. So check out The Beggar's Opera if you're a fan of musicals or Laurence Olivier. Worth checking out. If you need something a little bit more grounded and crime-driven, of course, we have a film with Jack Palance and Shelley Winters. We have I Died 1,000 Times. So this is a remake of the Humphrey Bogart hit High Sierra, which was put out by the Criterion Collection, if you're interested in checking that out. I Died 1,000 Times. I have not seen High Sierra yet. It's one of the Criterion Collection that it's on my wish list. Hell, maybe I'll get it for Christmas. Fingers crossed. But I really want to check it out. But watching this version first, I don't feel like I've really missed out, just because I know they, from what I've read, they are pretty different from one another. In here you have Jack Palance as a man who is freshly out of prison, and what do people freshly out of prison do? They plan their next crime. So that he gets kind of a crew together to arrange kind of like a nice heist for themselves to get a nice profit. At first, he is doing this also in addition to helping himself. He finds a young girl who has some issues with her leg that needs some attention, and he's going to pay for surgery to fix it. But little does he kind of know that maybe the woman that is probably meant to be in his life is played by Shelley Winters, who is not kind of this nice, innocent girl that Jack Palance is drawn to, but is more kind of a hardened dame who is more so in his world and really willing to get into mud with him. So it's a really interesting dynamic of like what Palance actually wants and who he's really meant to be, and like whether or not he's going to be able to pull off this crime and what's going to happen to him if he does. All that kind of stuff is in here. So not judging it on High Sierra, not having that context, I found I Died a Thousand Times to be perfectly entertaining. I enjoyed it. I like Jack Palance as an actor, and he has a really nice, captivating screen presence that I think worked very well. Is he Humphrey Bogart? No, but he's a legend in his own right. And I think this is a good movie and good release of this, because it has also been given a 4K restoration of the original camera negative. It looks terrific. No disappointment here. Everything looks perfectly crisp, clear, no damage. Everything looks great. You get cartoons and a trailer on this one. So once again, good release from the Warner Archive. Go forward a decade or two to the 70s, and we have the blaxploitation film Black Samson, which it's a lot of fun. This man has a pet lion. What more could you want in a movie? That's like it was great. There's like a moment early in the movie where I knew I was going to have a blast, because like I found myself, like, I was watching the movie alone. There was a moment that tickled me so much that I had to like shoot a clip of it to like send to my wife, just so she could experience it herself, because I just, even if she was probably never watched the movie, I needed her to experience this moment. So there's like things like that that kind of stand out, where you're like, I want to share this with someone because it's so ridiculous, but so wonderfully fun. And that's what this is. It's not reinventing the wheel plot wise. It's just like Black Samson. He owns this bar. There are some people trying to come in and kind of like take over the neighborhood, take over the bar, everything. And he's there to protect the neighborhood. That's basically the extent of it. Bad people are trying to take over the neighborhood. Black Samson's going to be the one to protect everyone. And they mess with the wrong man whenever they go against Black Samson. They hurt people close to him, all that kind of stuff. It's a blast. In terms of like the blaxploitation movies that Warner Archive has released over the last couple of years, I put this near the top. I had a real good time with this one. So very much worth checking out if you're a fan of blaxploitation movies. There's been a real boon in those, like with the Shout Factory 4K sets that have been coming out. With this Blu-ray, it would go right with those if you want to have like a nice marathon watch. Because this has been given a 4K scan of the original camera negative. It looks terrific. Everything, the colors are bold, complex, no damage. Everything sounds great as well. No meaty special features. You just get a trailer, but you do get that. So if you're a blaxploitation fan, Black Samson, a lot of fun. My final Warner Archive title, before I go into another boutique extravaganza, the final Warner Archive title is The Beast of the City. We're going back to pre-code times with Jean Harlow and Walter Houston. So really young Jean Harlow as a woman who is kind of like a spicy dame again, who's kind of involved with some mobsters, really kind of living the high life within this criminal organization. And then, of course, we have old Walter Houston here, who is going to come kind of break up the party and really trying to put some people away, and how Jean Harlow responds. So it's a crime drama where cops are trying to put away the bad people, and how the people who are collateral damage, how they react to things. And people are trying to be manipulated and just strive for their own gain. It's a pre-code film, so it's a little bit nasty in some respects in terms of like morals. It's not always so like clean cut, dry. Not everyone's a goody two shoes. But The Beast of the City, it is quite a bit of fun. If you like pre-code dramas, this one is good. And presentation wise, this is quite an old film, but early 30s. But you do get a 4K scan of the best surviving preservation elements. While it may not be as crisp as something from like the early 40s that we see, this movie looks really, really great, and I don't think most normal audiences would really notice that it might not be from the original camera negative. It looks very consistent, clear, damages have been cleaned up. the heroes at Motion Picture Imaging MPI over at the Warner lot, they take such care to make sure their restorations are some of the best in the business, and they always show up with their releases. And Warner Archive always gives it ideal representation on Blu-ray. Everything looks really great. In terms of special features, you just get some cartoons, which is always great. They're also restored. So overall, the Beast of the City. If you're a fan of these performers or pre-code dramas with a little bit of a bite, this one is worth checking out. So going from one cocktail to another, we are starting our deep dive into the Vinegar Syndrome family, their partner labels, their sub labels, all that kind of stuff. What I'm doing that first with the release of gang related with Tupac Shakur and Jim Belushi. So we got that here. So this is a Blu-ray release. You have their removable J card here, and you can see the full artwork there. I had never seen this movie before, but this was one that whenever I mentioned I was getting it into my wife, she was very excited because this was on her watch list of wanting to check out. So glad to mark this off for her because it was entertaining. You had Tupac and Belushi as a partners, cops, who are not on quite on the up and up. There are some dirty cops who have been here's a booklet, who have been running kind of scams and killing people to kind of make money and all kinds of stuff. And of course, at the beginning of this film, on their latest kind of scam, they kill someone after getting some money from them, and they happen to be an undercover DEA agent. And then they are the ones put in charge of tracking down the people responsible for this. But so they are searching for themselves. So they are spending most of this movie trying to find the perfect person to pin this on. And as the walls start closing in and everything kind of like starts going to hell, and they start kind of turning on each other, and they like everything like you wonder if they are going to able to be or to get out of this situation, and if you even want them to. So you're kind of questioning whether you want them, like these like protagonists, to do bad and get away with it, or get caught, or what you want to happen to them. It's a fascinating crime drama that explores morality and police corruption and a lot of stuff that still resonates to this day. And the performances are good as well. And it is slightly kind of over the top in certain like script ways, but it's very fun and entertaining, and I had a good time watching it. And if you like kind of like those 90s cop dramas that are a little edgy and everything, I think you'll like gang related really well. And this Blu-ray release, this is not the first time it's been on Blu-ray. It was released on Blu-ray by Olive in 2016. I do not have that release, but knowing Olive and kind of seeing comparisons, this is a big step up. It's a 4K restoration from the original camera negative. While I would have loved a 4K release of this, Cinematograph, they still do amazing work on Blu-ray, and even their Blu-ray upgrades from another older Blu-ray are usually very much worth the money. And it looks really terrific. Deep black levels, all the natural film grain has been retained and resolves very well. No blown highlights. All the colors are accurate, deep, complex. Everything you want out of a transfer is what you get here. 5.1 audio sounds really great, and some really good like soundtrack options on this one, and the score as well. Both sound good. Gunshots or everything, those resonate really well. So no qualms with the audiovisual quality on this one. Commentary track, new interviews, featurettes, overall. Justin over at Cinematograph, always just putting really great packages together. And this one is another great addition to the Cinematograph line. Really glad to see this one. If you're interested in this at all, it is very much worth the money. Now heading over to the other partner labels, the first of which I'm going over to Shudder, and their release of Sorry About the Demon. This is kind of a horror with comedy elements about a guy, or it starts out with a family who realizes they have a demon in their basement and they need a sacrifice, so they are going to kind of rent out their house to a man who has just been dumped by his girlfriend, and hopefully the demon will get his soul so they can kind of appease the demon and move back into their house. But this sad sack of a guy, who he's kind of like, it's kind of ineffectual, but he kind of comes into his own in terms of like finding, kind of like looking inward to why his relationship ended and kind of finding more about himself as he kind of gets mixed up with this demon nonsense. And like trying to find a way to, like, once he realizes what's happening, how to get out of this situation with his soul intact and his life and all that, and the life of his loved ones. Overall, I think the balance between horror and comedy is pretty decent. There are a few kind of unsettling like horror moments, but it does lean more comedically. It's not the best horror comedy I've ever seen, but it is entertaining enough, and I think if you give it a shot on Shudder and you like it, this is a really nice presentation. But this was kind of one of like ones that kind of slipped by my radar whenever it was released on streaming. I never had really heard of it. So discovering it, I think it's a nice discovery. I think it's worth checking out. But for hardcore horror fans, you might want to try before you buy, just to make sure there's enough horror in it to appease you, or if you find other things to like about it. But if you do, it's a nice Blu-ray, audio and visual wise, really nice transfer. Maybe slight banding in a few moments, but overall nice, deep black levels. Everything looks crisp, clear. Everything looks nice. Sounds good as well. You do get a commentary track, some deleted scenes, and a behind the scenes featurette. So some nice special features to go along with here. So Sorry About the Demon. If you're a fan of the Shudder line, I think this is a nice one. Not their best release, but definitely a solid addition if you are interested in the movie. One that I wasn't quite as enthused on, even though it had its merits, from Yellow Bell Pictures, Zeros and Ones. This is a screen life movie, which means the whole time you're watching this, it is like you're watching kind of like a computer screen where you are seeing a bunch of different windows and boxes and stuff. About a guy. It's a story of a guy who goes to a party and loses his computer, and he spends the whole time going around trying to find out, kind of like kind of confront different people to know if they learn if they know anything about his missing bag with his computer, and how his life kind of starts to go to hell with each interaction. And he's kind of obnoxious. Things were going well for him before this night, and kind of well for him. But he just kind of like starts to rub people the wrong way, and it's just kind of like a aimless journey that really challenges you to put up with this character who's pretty obnoxious. But there are moments I like in this. It's not a complete misfire. It's just not, it wasn't my favorite viewing from the partner label line. But overall, if you watch the trailer and you like think that it might be something you like, check it out. This just wasn't quite my bag. Even though I liked some of the performers and moments in there, but it's okay. But audiovisual wise, it's intentionally kind of low rent screens and stuff like that, so it's not going to look great, but for an HD presentation of this material, it's as good as it can possibly look. Sound wise is pretty much similar. What the best thing about this release is that you get an entire other feature film from this director called Skydiver, which is another kind of like screen life type movie. It's a really good value in terms of like getting multiple features for this one singular price. You also get, for Zeros and Ones, a commentary track, some deleted scenes and interviews and stuff. So really nice special features package. One thing I want to note, which would apply to Sorry About the Demon, the partner label titles If you go to the Vinegar Syndrome website or certain indie retailers like Diabolic and stuff, you will be able to pick up, if they're still in stock, a slipcover for a couple extra dollars that look really nice. Otherwise, you will get what I'm showing off, which are the standard versions. But slipcovers are exclusive to the Vinegar Syndrome website or select indie retailers. So if you really care about slipcovers, they're very nice, but they are available exclusively at those places. So zeros and ones from Yellow Veil Picture. Not a complete miss, like I said, but definitely not a strong recommendation from me. The next title is I like it a little bit more, but it's more like I respect it more than I love it. This is from Memory, and this is Fraud. The label is called Memory, and I'm not just saying this from memory, which I am, but the label is Memory. So Fraud, from director Dean Fleischer Camp, who most recently made the Lilo and Stitch live action movie, but before that made Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. This was a little bit earlier in his career. It's a really interesting film about in which they use the family film, like the family footage found on YouTube, to cut together a movie that makes it look like they have committed a crime. So it's really a feat of editing where the camp takes a bunch of YouTube videos, some of which are not of the family, they're other YouTube videos, but mostly of this family, edits a bunch of stuff together and crafts a narrative that's more like a kind of a true crime story. And while that is very interesting, it's just kind of like, oh, okay, like that was cool, okay, and I don't know, like it didn't hit me like it didn't stick with me after I saw it. I thought it was a really cool thing that he did. But overall, entertainment wise, I was just kind of like, oh, okay, that's okay. What really helped this movie is they didn't try to overdo it and make it like a full hour and a half long feature or anything like that. It is only 52 minutes. So they didn't try to like go overboard with like this kind of feature in terms of like, we're doing this editing thing and let's kind of test the audience's patience. No, it's kind of compact, so that's pretty cool. Audio visual wise, these are YouTube videos, so once again, not the best video quality. It is what it is, but everything looks as good as it's supposed to. Audio wise, it's just similar. There are limitations to the recording equipment from a YouTube video, but everything sounds as good as possible. You do get some special features, what I think are helpful. In terms of like, you get a featurette, a Q&A with the director that kind of puts some stuff into context as to what you watched. You get a Q&A with the family, like a video interview with the family, which is a little bit more in depth, which is very helpful as well. And you get some deleted scenes and stuff. So overall, if you're a fan of like cinema as an art form, and kind of editing and manipulation and how footage can be manipulated to kind of infect someone's brain and their perception and everything. If that interests you, you should check out Fraud. It's not an easy recommendation for a blind buy, but it's worth checking out if it sounds interesting to you and like how media can be manipulated. Next up, we have a new partner label. Always a fun time here. So from Several Futures, we have a movie from 1984, that is Leila and the Wolves. This is a movie never before released in the US. It has been saved and now exhibited, thanks to them. And this is a movie that kind of weaves in a lot of different material, from our like documentary material, narrative, animation, all kinds of stuff in this. And it really deals with kind of like showing how like Palestinian women and Lebanese women kind of like were like have a bigger part in kind of the war efforts and kind of like uprising efforts within their communities, and they've really been given credit for. And it really kind of shows how, while like men are always off doing different things and everything, like women can also kind of come together, they commune with one another, and they plan and they affect change, and how this is woven into kind of a feature narrative, I think is very fascinating. And I think it's like a really strong feminist tale from a part of the globe that you don't get a lot of like feminist tales from, due to the society, especially from this time. And I think it's a really important feat of filmmaking. And it's also really fascinating. It's not just like a eat your veggies type of filmmaking where you're like, this is important, so I should watch it. It's actually a really interesting drama. So make sure to check out Layla and the Wolves if you're kind of interested in a more broad cultural context, and or if you're open to kind of like international cinema and like feminist ideology within kind of repressed societies. We're very much worth checking out if you're interested in any of those words I've just said. But this has been given a restoration that looks really nice, and you get an interview as well on here. So very impressed. It's a 2K restoration. Looks really nice. There are still minor nicks and stuff here and there, but overall it's been preserved as well as possible. So several features, very exciting first release from them on Blu-ray, and very excited to check out what else they have in store in the future. My next film, we're going to IFC Films, which is one of my favorite labels. This is a very polarizing film, I'll just say that. From 2019, we have The Painted Bird. This is a kind of a grueling watch. Here you have Harvey Keitel here. But this is I believe it's a Polish film. And this was shortlisted for international film at the Oscars back in the year it was released. So we have the movie here and the supplemental feature disc here. I'll remove the disc so you can see the alternate cover art. So this is just under 3 hours long. And the best way I can describe this is that it's a film that starts off with a boy who has like a cat, and the cat gets brutally killed in front of him. And that is one of like, not like the bright spots of the movie, but it's just very indicative of what type of movie you're about to watch, because you are watching a boy kind of lost in the world during wartime, go from like place to place, experiencing the worst of humanity. You have like different violent acts against him, sexual acts against him. Anytime you think there's a possibility of like warmth in the world, it's taken away from him, and he is like faced with another cruel injustice. So it is really a exercise in endurance of like the cruelties of this world, and it really goes overboard. It's based on a book of the same name, and it's been adapted, and it's very bleak. And if you're not okay with just like really kind of like violent imagery or sexual imagery, that is admittedly photographed very beautifully in black and white, it's a rough watch. I to say I liked it would be an interesting way to phrase it. I was intrigued by it, and while I was disturbed by a lot of what I saw, it didn't scar me. But I was always interested to see what came next. This filmmaker is trying to show like the darkness of humanity, especially during wartime, and how people who are under the duress of war don't always have the capacity to do good. And there's really a lot of that in here, and like, while ultimately it may not end on a completely bleak note, it is a pretty bleak 3 hours of torture. But if that sounds interesting to you, worth checking out. Like, if you think you can handle it and you want to see if this movie is for you, it is worth checking out. It's just a lot of movie to try out if you're a very sensitive film viewer. Video wise, it looks good. Like I said, beautiful cinematography. No major hiccups in the like contrast or anything like that. No major compression artifacts. Everything looks nice for this newer movie. The audio is good as well. I believe these have burned subtitles, like 4 subtitles. And You get a lot of really good special features. As you saw, you have a whole second disc. That second disc, well, the first disc has a couple of commentary tracks, or you get one commentary track, and the second disc has a feature documentary on the making of this movie that runs 2 hours and 6 minutes long. You also have an interview with the director, which runs an hour and 21 minutes long. Then you have a visual essay that runs 46 minutes long. So while the number of special features aren't great, the amount of like content in each special feature is very impressive. So this is an epic movie, and it's been given an epic release by IFC Films. Very, very brutal, but worth checking out if you're a fan of international cinema that has some kind of deeper thematic context. I've seen people compare this to something like Come and See, which I have not actually seen myself. But if that kind of gives you context to some other brutality, that may give you a nice baseline. And speaking of children in not great situations, over at Film Movement, we have I Am Not a Witch, in which this young girl is accused of being a witch, and she's kind of like taken into custody and starts to be exploited by people who think that they can use her witch powers for their own personal gain, while she also tries to figure out whether this is a good or bad thing, if she desires freedom, while she's kind of tethered to like all these other witches. And it's a really interesting look at kind of freedom and like how people use one another for personal gain, and they kind of bend their own ideology for their own personal gain. And it's really a lot going on here in this feature. I remember when this came out in the late 2010s. I'd wanted to watch this, but I never got a chance to. So I was finally able to watch this on Blu-ray, and I was glad I did. Very interesting movie. Very great, really great child performance, and a lot of good stuff going on with the other ensemble members, who a lot of them are non-professional actors. This Blu-ray looks great. Sounds really good as well. Good number of special features on this one, including a commentary track, interview, short film. Nice selection here from Film Movement. Worth checking out this one. I believe this is the same filmmaker who recently made On Becoming a Guinea Fowl from A24. So if you want to go back and see an early one from her, I Am Not a Witch is now on Blu-ray from Film Movement. Another Film Movement release we have here is The Third Wife. This is from Vietnam, and director Ash Mayfair. This is based loosely on like her family story about I believe her like great grandmother who was the third wife of this man, and kind of like showing her dynamic. It's like a tale of like finding her place within this new kind of family in which she's a new wife, and she knows that she can gain power if she can give her husband a son, but she also starts to form relationships, and like there's kind of takes a queer bent with some of the other wives who are around town who show her kindness, and how she's trying to process that kindness is either like a comforting like love or like a romantic love, and how that she kind of like she's trying to figure out her own place in the world while she is kind of in this kind of really repressed situation that limits her kind of independence. This is a very slow, not derogatory, a very slow, methodical movie in which a lot of visual filmmaking is on display, just like a lot of like moments of like flowing water, and like our protagonist, like the girl, just kind of like walking through different areas and observing and stuff. Very gentle, patient movie. Overall, I did like it. Some people might be a little uncomfortable by this being about a 14-year-old girl, and there is like a lot of like sexual situations and themes and stuff within this. But if doesn't completely like put you off, I think it's handled very respectfully by this female director. She definitely doesn't exploit our young actress, but just know that there are some situations that might make some people uncomfortable. Overall, I think it's a really strong movie. I liked it quite a bit. And glad I got to see this one. Gorgeous on Blu-ray. It looks really, really nice. All of the landscapes and everything in this period piece looks really great. There's also a really cool alternate version of this movie that's in black and white, and it's presented as a silent movie. So there's a persistent score, and there are some like intertitle stuff with some of the dialogue that needs to be translated, but a lot of this movie can just be translated strictly on visuals, and that is called Between Shadow and Soul. It's like a whole different viewing experience. It's slightly shorter than the feature film, but still nearly an hour and a half long. So you get an alternate version of the movie, you get a commentary track on the original version of the movie, you get a chat from the New York Asian Film Festival, you get another short film from Ash Mayfair. Overall, really, really stacked release, and really cool from Film Movement, The Third Wife. Another one from Film Movement, my final one from them, is Sea Fog from Shim Sung Bo. This is co-written by director Bong Joon-ho, who gave us Parasite, and most recently Mickey 17. This was from before both of those, way before both of those films. And it's about a Korean ship captain who has a crew. They're kind of been struggling financially with their normal kind of like fishing and shipping and stuff. So the captain decides to take a very dangerous job, an illegal job, in which he is going to kind of try to smuggle in some Chinese immigrants into Korea, and how that eventually works out or may not work out for him. So the struggle once he like kind of gets all these people onto his ship, and kind of like how kind of tensions boil. They are trying to avoid the law. They're trying to avoid inclement weather. All kinds of things are kind of working against them. And it's just kind of like seeing what these people are put through when they're trying to like make a better lives for themselves, what their morality is once they get these people on board, how they view them. All kinds of these questions are asked and answered in very interesting ways. I found this a very gripping tale. And it takes a lot of like interesting turns that I didn't expect. My jaw was on the floor more than a couple of times, but mainly I was just very concerned about certain passengers and how they were going to make it or not make it. Fascinating movie, a lot of moral questionings in this one too. Very much worth checking out. This Blu-ray is very nice. There is a lot of sea fog, in this, so that sometimes struggles a little bit with like kind of like resolving compression wise, but overall it holds up pretty well. Maybe a little bit of banding and like blockiness here and there, but overall it holds together pretty well. Original Korean audio. You do get an interview and a making of featurette. If you like Korean cinema or just like very tense drama, Sea Fog's worth checking out. My final Vinegar Syndrome title, I got one more after this, is from Kim Stem, and we have Fire Will Come from Oliver Lax. Now, I was very interested in this one because I've heard Oliver Lax getting a lot of buzz recently this year from his movie Surat, which debuted at Cannes, has been coming up in a lot of fall film festivals as well. So was interested to see one of his earlier works. And this one I liked quite a bit. It's also very gentle. It's about a man who is recently out of prison for arson, coming back to his hometown, trying to restart his life, but really kind of like having that kind of cloud over him of just like everyone knowing that he causes crime or like set a fire in the town that really screwed over a lot of people. And like how if he can ever get back what he lost, and like trying to be with his mom and trying to start his life, and how that eventually is upended once another crime pops up, and how people look at him once that happens. Very, once again, patient, not a lot of dialogue, but there are some very memorable exchanges of dialogue that I felt resonated with me very deeply, and I thought that was very nice, especially with his mom speaking. And just a really interesting character study. There's a one very impressive look at like a raging fire that I was astounded at. It was a really impressive sequence. Overall, really, really good movie. I liked it quite a bit. Fire Will Come, definitely worth watching. If you're a fan of international cinema, especially character driven with a little bit of action, you get a nice Q&A with this one with cinematographer Ed Lockman. Nice, cool film. Good discovery. Fire Will Come. Very much worth checking out. My final film, we're away from Vinegar Syndrome. This is just from Decal Releasing and Bleecker Street. We have a film that I really quite enjoyed, and that is Relay on Blu-ray. We have Riz Ahmed, Lily James, Sam Worthington, and more. This was a movie I'd kind of heard mixed things about, especially in regards to how this film concludes. I know a lot of people were a little bit mixed or upset about it. So imagine my surprise whenever I watched it. I was like, I have no problem with this. I really liked it. It's a really interesting film in which Riz Ahmed plays kind of like a fixer character. He runs kind of a business where people come to him, and he has like a very deliberate way of like trying to assist them with working with people in order for them to kind of like preserve their safety and all kinds of stuff, like especially with like whistleblowers and stuff like that. And this is called Relay because it involves a relay service with telephones, typically used for people who are deaf or hard of hearing, in which you can call a service and you can visually kind of like type out and like have a phone conversation with a deaf person, and they can kind of type, and people on the relay service will like speak to the person who can hear and tell them what they're saying, and they can like talk back and they'll type it back and stuff. It's a really interesting way for this character to anonymize himself and really go through a different party where people can't track him down. But he gets a little bit too involved with this one lady who's trying to get his services, Lily James, who was going to be a whistleblower, but has kind of tried to go back on that and is trying to find a way to reconcile that with her employers. And there's all the while there are some people trying to track her down, led by Sam Worthington, who has kind of like a team who's trying to maybe take her out. So it's very dramatic. You have a bunch of people like in very tense situations. A lot of times, just like tense phone calls. But I was so in the bag for this in terms of like, I love Riz Ahmed. I love like a tense thriller that's like maybe not over the top, but like it establishes its stakes and it really follows through. And I love how this kind of built and everything. It might not be perfect, but I still thought it was really good and one of the better films I've seen this year. It reminds me of like an underrated gem from last year called The Order with Jude Law, which I was very impressed by. This is just really solid mid-budget cinema from the director of Hell or High Water. Great performances, great tension, some good action stuff going on here as well. Overall, very pleased with this one. Glad I gave it a chance despite some more mixed reviews. If you don't like it, I'm sorry, but I want to kind of lift it up as one that like, don't listen to reviews. I think it's really good. Listen to my reviews. Don't listen to other people's reviews. This has a DTS 5.1 soundtrack. Sounds really great. Video-wise, no complaints. Everything looks good. No special features, unfortunately. Just a solid movie, and I thought it was a good way to end this one, this episode, because why not end on a good note? I hope you found something you're interested in. I had a lot of titles, a lot of them quite good, so hopefully you'll take some chances on a few of them. If so, let me know what you're going to check out or you're most excited to check out in the future. Share this with anyone that you think would also enjoy learning about these titles. I always love getting new people to the channel. Make sure you're subscribed to Geek Vibes Nation's YouTube channel. Make sure you like this and all that kind of good stuff. Everything helps, and I really appreciate this. I love doing this for you. Always have a blast. I will be back again next week with a fresh batch of titles. But until next time, enjoy these movies.
Hey.